Where they'll get in and Sergeant David Sylvester does a military style pump up.
If they said, right, all of you have to show up at 9 a.m. for this, there would be 80% of the players that would be there going, fuck this is stupid. Okay, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Rugby Strength Coaches React, depending on what video we are watching. Today, we're reacting to a video of, it's O2 Inside Line or The Next Level or whatever the England rugby documentaries. Highly recommended, by the way. They are like fantastic documentaries if you want a real insight at like high level rugby and all the things that go into making that. Definitely recommend watching any of the series. It made actually quite a lot of fans over the Rugby World Cup because they really documented in depth. But this is one that I've been sent quite a lot by guys that know what I do and some clients and stuff, just to see what real strength and conditioning looks like at the most elite level. So
is that them saying you don't do it? What you do is not real strength and conditioning?
No, maybe. Because what's ironic about this is, like, I've thought about this, all right? So I'm probably gonna maybe I've skimmed over this video already, right? But there's a good chance that I might like criticize or critique some of it, and it's like, who the fuck are you to critique it? Because these guys like are the top of the game, and if I got this, you know, if I was given the opportunity to do this job, like I would take it within a heartbeat, and I would like then also feel instantly overwhelmed by what I've got to do with this, you know, with the stakes on it. So, you know, any sort of criticism or critique of it is just what I'm just going to sort of lay out what I see. The other thing the real thing I wanted to point out here is going to be the differences between this and the expectations of like amateur and like semi-professional athletes, the guys that aren't full-time, because there's a big difference. And then whatever differences there are with England rugby versus, you know, challenges that a national rugby team would face, such as England versus, you know, club teams or whatever. So, any other thoughts on this, mate?
No, I like that you brought up the expectations. That's a big deal. There's a lot more on their plate than anything else. Yeah,
like they've got a lot more. We'll go into it. You'll see how this goes.
Focus on our strength and conditioning department. The big thing that's changed in rugby over the last 30 years has been the physical preparation of the players.
So that's ever since the game went professional, and I couldn't agree with that.
Yeah, 1990.
Yeah, I mean, even over the last 20 years, that's where it's really taken off. Because it's also like sort of coincided with a big gym boom. You know, like fitness industry is bigger than ever at the same time. So you've also got athletes that are like would be competing in rugby anyway, but are also just happen to be bigger because they take their fitness and health more serious.
Mm-hmm.
So they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, and they train harder. But also they recover harder, and
that's quite a good point.
Recovery's probably been, over the last 10 years, the biggest change in the game. So I hope you learned something. I hope you find it of interest to you, and thank you for joining us on Next Level.
So, great stuff.
We usually bring them in and they just train on the Monday, but we actually brought them in on the Sunday. We had a bit of a hit out. I'm
going to try and skip over some of this because this video itself is 22 minutes. So
in preparation for a great test week,
if we're going to react,
it's always a fine balance
to make sure
when they've had a week off.
That's a really, really important point.
How much training to do and how much rest to do. So
that the balance the balance between training and resting is one of the big things. Sort of I try to tell people is like, and it's not like resting isn't like doing loads of yoga sessions or doing loads of recovery sessions and then going back and training. It's like just chilling out. And that's one of the things that like not having a day job allows you to do, is train a lot more because you've got that much more free time to recover. You know, if you train, you can still train 3 times a day and do a job, but that if you had those exact same 3 sessions without a job surrounding it, you'd probably get so much better progress. Just something people like need to bear in mind. It's not the extra training load, it's the extra recovery load that then allows you to train more.
We've really discussed that at length this week, and hopefully Saturday will tell if we've got that balance right.
This is another good point, actually. is they sat down with the players and explained the situation. They had the time to educate the players, so the players could take the onus of what they were doing rather than relying on it.
Yes,
This is you'll see this come up quite a lot.
we have
England are quite notorious, and if you listen to a lot of Eddie Jones, like he wants the guys to eventually like coach themselves, because that's what a coach should do. Like you should like they should actually coach you. Funny enough, you know. So the more, and it's why I pride myself on trying to educate, like as part of my routine, is like so you don't have to rely on me, so you can make educated decisions along with the guidance from the coach.
objective markers within the gym.
Sure.
The physios run objective markers in the mornings, so we get a decent picture. However, I think the great thing about this environment is the amount of experience within the coaching staff.
So they're like, he's already talking
a real
about
feel amongst the coaches on how much the players need, and some of it's part of the team.
like that's that balance between having objective markers, which you would love, and then subjective markers, which, you know, for a performance athlete is going to be, you know, someone that uses their mind a lot. It's really important. Okay. This is something I want you to react to.
One of the sessions of the week that's steeped in a little bit of history now, I think, is the bacon and egg sessions. So they get up pretty early. This week, the forwards, we got together. You know, we wanted to create a real togetherness feel this week. So there's
Dumbbell
a physical
clean and press
aspect
in the
of,
back.
of the bacon and eggs, where they'll get in and Sergeant David Sylvester does a military style pump up. The other side of it is that they're together. They're training together, achieving something together, and that's one of the big focuses this week, is how we can bring particularly the forward pack even closer. You know, they're a real close-knit
that should say
bunch of
forward.
lads, but we want them even tighter and working for
I like the way they spell
each other
Groovers.
even more. So bacon and eggs is just one, you know, small piece of the pie that we're doing this week.
Yeah. So, what I want to know your thoughts on that. Sort of like the bacon and eggs. Like, so obviously it's sort of just a bunch of, like he said, military style stuff. Go on. What do you think about this stuff?
Yeah, I like it. I don't like the exercise. I think this is ridiculous, honestly. But in
What, the
terms
high
of like
pull?
what
Or the push-ups?
the whole thing, this whole thing is dumb. But I think it's really worthwhile, because what's like the biggest part of sports training is the tactical part, right? Mm-hmm. So we have preparation in terms of cohesiveness as a team. We have preparation in terms of like getting people to work well together. And like working well together is part of sports prep, right? Not part of this physical prep. So they're taking into account like just a different dynamic. They're saying, okay, we can sacrifice X gains on like our clean and jerk to get X gains in like a potentially a more important area.
Well, I think
I like it.
that to go along with that, to me, it's like these guys are already, you know, the 99th percentile physical peak, or close to wherever. Like, and also they're in England camp, right? They're not going to be making long-term progress in a game week, right? So what can they get out of it? They can get a really tough workout where I think what the being close-knit point here is like they're all together, but they're also like that mean, and they're all working their ass off. So I've seen it as a rugby player and as a rugby coach where, you know, guys sometimes will let their heads drop and they'll work less hard because they don't think everyone else in their team is working as hard. So they're like, what's the point of me working hard when fucking old lazy bollocks over here isn't doing anything as well? Where, because they've all done this session, they've all seen firsthand, no, we're all willing to work this hard. And you have no choice in that environment to push yourself. And I think, yeah, you can critique the movements, but I think on that side of things, it's just like, just stuff to make them knackered. And,
Yeah, it's not important.
and also not like, you know, not doing CrossFit-y stuff where they might risk any unnecessary injury or might have to learn a skill so much so that they can't then put in the work. Like everyone knows how to fucking do like push-ups. Everyone knows whatever those weird things are that they were doing, like kind of high pulls. Everyone can do it. Is the point. So they can. So they're not slowed down by the skill of movement. Now, would you give this someone to a session that wants to improve physically? Probably not, right? Like, and would you give this to like? And how many better ways are there for a team to bond together, like, and produce a better result on the field like probably getting out there and executing on their skills a lot better, where they've got so much room to improvement. But what you've got to remember is that these guys are already at that top percentage, you know? So I get it. There's togetherness there, and that is a big aspect of it.
The COVID's brought up speed humps we've had to get over. And it's an initial case of looking at it fitting in with a lot of the COVID protocols that have been...
You're just talking about doing COVID.
So it's been very much a case of, this is what we can do within our COVID restrictions, and therefore let's crack on and make sure it happens. It's been interesting. It's made it a little bit more... Most always puts you in a good position, because you then looking at new ways,
the non-remarkable weights though. I like this counter movement
PPE,
jump.
So we put on a fresh face mask, we put on gloves and the protective aprons. We've gone through a fair amount of gloves and apron, and seem to be getting pretty quick at putting gloves on and off, which has been interesting, especially if you've got sausage.
Oh, yeah, gym water.
7-7. Done! Hey.
That's a good speed at 122.
Nathan, our sports
That's a really good speed at 120 kilos.
Yeah, I mean, so...
does a great job with.
Hold on, they're going to talk about this a little bit here. They've got the leaderboards. We create
little leaderboards, and particularly around that Wednesday session. What we don't want the players to do is come in and sleepwalk through a session. So when we do get them in there, we want to make sure that they maximise the session. So one of the ways is to create a competition. So we've done that with real basic exercises, maybe a banded bench press.
Why this is so good
pull, and just putting that leaderboard.
And this is something. This is a real good lesson that guys can take. Is like it's not about max strength. Like it is, and that's like exactly what you said. You're a power lifter. You can probably lift more than Ellis Genge on a back squat, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
probably.
Can you lift at that speed? Probably not, right? Like that speed is more what they're shooting for, or at least get close to that speed, right? You know what I'm saying, right? Like that is where he excels, like, and that's where rugby players should excel. It's not about your tops. It's not about your top end strength. Like, you know, a 250 kilo squat versus a 200 kilo squat doesn't matter. But how well do you move with 120? Like that pays off massively. And where they've done the leaderboards here is they haven't done leaderboards like your classic like powerlifting gym where they've just got everyone's biggest lifts on the. No, they've done the leaderboards by who's lifting each movement at their, you know, whatever the fastest, so that they were all competing then better. Because like, you know, if I'm going into the gym as a rugby athlete with you, for example, who lifts fucking 100 kilos more than me on a squat, like I'm not motivated at all by this leaderboard. I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like this guy's just lifted. I can't even relate. Whereas if we're taking a percentage and then we're looking at speeds and we're looking at things that are a lot more applicable, like now we're at the playing field's level, and now I'm motivated to do what's going to make me a better player. I really like it.
Yeah.
It's just drives intent, an intent to be the best, an intent to win. We get the players to train harder. They produce more force, more power within that exercise, and they get more out of it.
All about force and power, not about weightlifting. That's a good speed. Is that 60 kilos?
Yeah, but that's really fucking quick.
That's really quick. That is also really quick considering that technique.
It's not.
That technique, like that's why yours has got much faster than that, because he's like Sinclair here is just sort of humping it. He's doing that classic John North, whatever it is, catapult method. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But you see, like it's not about being as strong as possible. It's about speed with those movements.
And that obviously transfers to how quick he is running 10.4 metres per second. And the other weekend against Wales.
I'm aware that we're already, how many minutes into this video? 14 minutes, and we're just 6 minutes into the video itself. So let's see if we can skip to some other important parts that I thought.
All the ball in the different departments.
A lot of rugby going on as well.
That's a big deal, right? Is that a small-sided game? That's a full-sided game, right?
No, I think it's close. I think they're playing full. If not, maybe small-sided, but it's a conditioned game.
now hopefully challenge these boys and be as fast, accelerate as hard as them, and cover the same amount of distance as them. So yeah, basically we're just trying to use the data to be able to inform as many people as possible to make the right decisions, really.
Something that's cool here is I think they're talking about the data that they use. Like, they use the data from a game to prepare them during training, so that it, like, how many times do we not use it? Do we use a game and then just not even think about anything, and then you go into training and it's completely different, and then you go back to a game and you're unprepared because what you've done isn't considering what's happening in the game. Like, I think that's quite cool, is that they're looking to make sure that, I think he spoke about here about Johnny May hitting his top speed in a game, that he gets there a couple times in training. Like, he doesn't go a few weeks, because it's realistically for like amateur players as well, you could go through you could go through a month at a time without ever actually getting to your top speed, so that then you're detraining that movement. Like, you know what I mean? And maybe that's okay if you're a prop, but you've got to take it, like, obviously it's not okay if you're any rugby player at this level. So they're really making sure that they're ticking all the boxes. It's like, I think that's pretty cool, and that's how much you can use data, like taking things like that, and it's looking at how much distance they're covering as well. But I like that top end speed thing, and that's sort of what made me think, like, that's why in season it's important to figure out how much sprinting you're doing. And like with most amateur clubs, it's going to be chaotic. Like, some weeks you might not even train at all, and then you expect to play the next week. You've got to figure out ways around it.
So Johnny, for instance, with him being one of our fastest players, want to hit within
there you go, look,
10%
sorry,
of his max speed, so 10.4.
So he wants to make sure he gets to this speed in training. If he doesn't, I'm assuming he's going to go and do some separate sprints. But if he gets it in the game, then there's no point to overexert him. I think that's really cool.
Punching through that line.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Making those.
This is neat. It's a good video.
During the game, and then you probably
I told you, mate.
1 axel per minute. That's above 3 meters per second. Yeah, working with Eddie, he's actually perhaps one of the best managers.
So they're actually giving them targets to hit. That makes you work off the ball, right? They're saying, okay, they want you to hit at least 1 acceleration per minute.
Yeah.
So, that's what it said? Like
yep. Mm-hmm. Well, it's basically look for work. And then, there'll be times in that game where that doesn't happen. But at the end of the day, like I also think sometimes when we do small-sided games in rugby, like, you lose. Sometimes it's easy to lose the fact that you're doing this because you're doing this as part of your training. So if you don't score a try in that instance, that's okay, because you're taking away the gains to then score the tries on the weekend. Sometimes we forget about that. We get so competitive in the midweek touch games with the boys.
Best as possible. So he's very keen on getting peak game intensities.
I've heard this a lot about Eddie Jones. Like, he loves the data and loves trying to get.
The first thing to do is get the data across to the boss as quickly as possible, and just to outline what we've achieved, depending on what we wanted from the week, and then that's also transferred throughout the other coaches as well.
I think quite a lot of this end of this video is the game as well, so don't worry about that. We'll keep this. Again, more rugby. Yep, definitely can't do that.
I think I was frustrated because I gave away a little.
Let's see. Having a bit of fun. They're doing kicking with the props. I thought that was quite cool. Again, just breaking it up.
I'm going to be right on top of you after you've beaten.
That's some red light stuff.
Yeah, but that's like the highlights.
One-on-ones with the outside backs.
Okay.
So a lot of those guys.
What I like.
Get presented.
This is something I really like as well.
The first or second defender.
Cool, right?
I'm going to talk over the guy.
You don't have to get those opportunities.
But again, I encourage it. I'll link in the description below this actual video, because it is really good. But what this is cool, and this is something that you do have the time as a professional athlete to do, and I think something that amateur players can learn, is work on very individual things. Like here, he's just trying to work on beating 2 players, right? And doing it. Yeah. Like, this is so simple. This is like beating a static pad, just practicing, rehearsing that. We never do this as rugby players, and it's something I've been doing Oh, I started to do before COVID messed it up, and I'm trying to reintroduce it with the players that I coach for rugby. Is like arrive to training 20 minutes early, and just spend that time working whatever individual thing is that you want to improve. So if that's your speed, go do some sprints. If that's your beating a player, go do that. We're not going to comment on that, whatever that was going on there, that core movement. If that's your catching, if it's your lineouts, go just practice lineouts. And it's funny because you don't get there's so many different things that you've got to do in a game of rugby that you're expected just to do that you almost fucking never try. Even if it's just like tackling, you think about how much any athlete will practice, in other sports, will practice the real basics. How often do rugby players, especially amateur players, go on?
How many hours do swimmers spend in the pool?
Yeah.
I swam up to a national level, and I trained 14 hours a week, and as a kid.
Or even recreational, right? Recreational powerlifters or recreational gym goers. How often do you practice? How many reps of your squat do you practice before you do your full squat? How often do you practice? You know what I mean? You get the bar and then you do this and you do this and you do this. You break the skill down, right? We should do that with our passing, and we should do that with every skill as much as we can. So, that's something that I think. Obviously, these guys, they all get the time in camp to go and just practice their individual skills. Like Anthony Watson here working his individual step in. And he spoke here about strengthening your strengths and then bringing up your weaknesses, and it's both things. Which, again, you don't have time to do when you show up 2 times a week and you've just got team practice.
I've not seen that before. That's cool.
What, using the boxing gloves?
Yeah, I've never seen that.
It's good, right? And that's, again, it's like doing lockout work for your deadlift or whatever. It's like taking away a constraint or putting a constraint on to then emphasize the point that you're... And that's fine if he then ends up still catching it with his hands, but... the idea is that he's going to get himself into better positions.
Yeah, it's genius. It was really smart. I love it. Yeah, I took school as a development drill.
Yeah. I mean, you do it with games, right? When you do it with small-side games, you constrain the game so that you can try and score out wide, or you constrain the game so you can work on your offloads.
Yeah, it's great.
Constrained skills in the same way, it works really well.
To make himself as good. Your first 2 steps were great, but you step from there to into.
And what's cool is look.
Individual coaching is fucking so good.
Dude, he is, and Anthony Watson is one of the best wingers in the world. He's been one of the most electrifying wingers in terms of stepping and doing all this. He probably spent about an hour there just practicing stepping and beating one player.
A real database, if you like, or a wide variety of options for the players to recover, to train.
So this is the
to
recovery
also work
portion.
out what they need individually. I think that, as I said, that's the way training is going. Everything will come in a more individually focused. So,
sorry.
So don't worry.
Yeah, you were messing
one of our jobs is to provide a platform where they can try different things.
So here he said that they've just tried to do different.
So we want to make players with highest performance facilities that we can do.
Just give them
a
multitude of different things that they can do to recover, right?
Yeah.
I think that's really good.
Great SSC programs.
We've done it before when we used to do the original Rugby Muscle membership. We gave everyone they had to reach 200 points or something, right?
Yeah.
And you would get X amount of points for X amount of recovery method, whatever you did, right? But I think they've even come further down from it, and that's probably what I would do as well. Now looking back on it, is you can't equate. Oh, you did. You can't equate each different recovery thing because it's so subjective. It's whatever makes you feel better. Like Johnny Hill here is just hitting some golf and just chilling out. Like a lot of people go and do some gaming. Like that is, and that's in all the research that's shown that's actually the best. Just whatever it is to make you chill out. This
is what we're telling people. As long as your brain thinks you're chilling out, you're good.
We also provide the boys.
So you're not stressing yourself out going to recover. If they'd have, for example, got everyone.
Yeah, me, Faz, and Curry are all on this.
If they got everyone doing, where was that yoga thing? Like if they said, right,
the whole
all of you have to show up at 9 a.m. for this, there would be 80% of the players that would be there going, fuck this is stupid, I'm not doing like. Just having that thought is going to not only not help them recover, it's actually going to make it worse, right? This then adds to their training load rather than helping them recover. And it's a real fine balance,
this
right?
Shit to me. This looks absolutely terrible.
But,
would be
but
so
if you look at his face earlier, he looked really fucking chilled out. Look, there you go. Like, this session's doing good for him, man.
So enough time.
So it's about just figuring out what's best and giving them all the tools that they can. And I guess they can because this is England Rugby's budget.
Classes a week.
Blakey, hey mate. There's
breathing classes. Jesus Christ! If there was ever a coach that looked more like a breathing coach,
Takes them through
the one, right?
look at that fella.
So,
wait, hopefully he comes back
we
up.
did a late night one a few weeks ago where it was all about recovery.
Yeah,
and getting them to sleep, so that's another aspect.
Fair play to him.
Do that.
Tolerate stress and focusing on recovery.
There is something to breath work for sure.
Mind and body.
I have everyone I work with does breath work.
Yeah.
To a T.
Not everyone I work with, but like it is emphasized a lot. And the more we do conditioning, like everything that you do, you have to breathe for, right? So why would you not?
Smooth, the breath is even. Inhale for 5 seconds.
Like, what happens at the end of a game when you're really pushing yourself as hard as you go? You're breathing really heavy. So
hold your breath.
Control it. Like, 100%. I'm cool for it though.
Someone like Tom Curry and Johnny May, they are grade A, top of the class when it comes to recovery. And they will tell us how they're going to recover and what's best for them because they've worked it out, and that's brilliant. We've provided a platform and different pieces of equipment.
I wish I had that budget
for them to work out.
Mate, their budget. I mean, you think about they just rented this like one of the most expensive hotels, and they're just like, yeah, this is ours.
Red lights, his flotation tank. That is a
I'm going to get one of these, by the way.
Element to him.
Really?
His best
on my list.
Saturday.
Yeah,
he will have his days and his
I think they're a bit difficult to check and fly with.
Recovering from each session.
No, I'll get it when you ask.
Exactly what each session requires in terms of his recovery. So when you see somebody take it up like him, and Tom Curry's the same. Yeah, it's rewarding, but
it's interesting to see Tom Curry and Johnny May, because those are two players. I mean, Johnny May's had a bit of a stinker of a season, but like if you look back to how much he's improved since he was a bit of a joke, like. Not a joke, but when he first came into the England squad, he was there because he was just rapid, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And now, he got to the point where he was probably the one of the first players, best winger in the world. He was around the World Cup. He made so much improvement, and I think Tom Curry is a bit similar. Tom Curry is never a joke, but he was just a young kid that you were like, God, this guy works hard. Now he like carries. He has like him and his twin brother. They're both like huge as well now. And they've made so much progress because they take this stuff seriously. And it's not taking it seriously as in doing as many things, but they're really in tune with what is making them better versus like what's just a waste of time.
Side of it, and we're very lucky. We have Graham. There's always the performance side of it and getting lads in terms of the body competition, getting them correct.
There's some education there, but it's not overwhelming.
Enough energy
so they can
at the
just
right times, taking some
simplify that nutrition.
So again, that's a balancing act with the
I love they got green.
The food side of it.
Cool.
So lads have got their own individual plans, but with the traffic light system, basically around carbohydrate loading, where we want them to go for it and where we want them to ease off.
Like it's not micromanaging.
And we provide the menu in and around that for them as well. You see them taking note of it. And
it's almost like it's the same way how Weight Watchers simplifies tracking your calories without the stress of having to do it.
This is fucking amazing.
Cooked. Yeah,
that you've got to allow on a game day.
I can't believe you haven't watched this video. No. This is the last point I sort of want to go over. We can look at the priming, whatever they do before the game, but these are the guys that haven't made the squad.
Early in the morning, we do a 7 a.m. start for them boys.
The argument should be really, if they're in the, this is probably COVID protocols or whatever, but if they're not in the squad, they should go play for their club. But if you can't, then like how many, and players, especially amateur players, can take a lot from this. Like, how many times do you not have a game on the weekend and then you just like, you do nothing? And when you're in season.
You don't do nothing, you go out on Friday night.
even worse.
You got Friday outside.
Yeah, you get to go out both times. But if you're like, even just physically, right, most of your training load over the like week to week is going to come from that 80-minute intense game, right? So, like, like we said, like you might sprint in a game, and then might be your only sprint. Well, if you don't even play a game, you don't even you do get no stimulus. So to get in and get a session done, like, I think that's like,
again,
it's kind of a no-brainer for the England boys.
Help them out.
But I think what's cool about this is that they're getting in a session that's really individualized. So Paolo Dogba is working like
that goes as God as well now. Like, he's
like scrummage it. Like as I said to you before, like they've got so much staff that they should be able to really support each other. Like
what's that band for in the scrum?
I'm assuming he's a tight head. So there's been
that makes sense. Yeah.
There's some sort of replication. It's not just a chaos thing, because obviously that's trying to simulate a full scrum with that band, I would imagine.
They're still trying to yak it down, maybe.
And just basic carrying, like there was one, that's so cool as well.
And the main squad of the
getting impact.
How easy, like, how many players at an amateur level think they're above just carrying into 2 bags?
On game day,
I know it's
the
carry.
main crux of the forwards and the main.
It's the best part of training is looking
around sort of 4 hours before kick-off, and we'll go through an activation.
So some activation stuff, but
then we'll go
I did want to make sure we covered that off. Like, how many times do you not have a game and then you just don't do anything? Well, then there's so much training volume that you've so much volume that you've accounted for that you've held back during the week to make sure that you can perform, and then that gets taken away. So there's so much room for you to make some massive gains there that you would just leave on the table if you didn't do anything.
All explosive med balls, so some banded accelerations, and we'll just try and give them a little prep down the track before game.
Just enough of an activation, and then see if they show anything after the game. I don't think they do. We'll just slip forward to Maro Toji. Definitely get grounding that ball. Definitely got grounded. Definitely grounded there. All right, so
fucking stay on that, man.
So that's. Any other closing thoughts on this video in general?
Yeah, I'm gonna go away and watch it again.
Yeah, I'll link it below.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. These are just our thoughts. I think what you should take away is a lot of inspiration as to how, but also like understanding that these guys are at the top level, and there's so much stuff in terms of like, this is just doing whatever they can in a week to, they've already basically done everything they can to prepare for this game, and this is just taking care of that top percent, But there's still a lot. Like, whereas if you still have got 50% of your fitness to go or whatever, like take care of that first. But these are all good things to bear in mind. I enjoyed this. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you are new. You can also check out Team Rugby Muscle in the links below to get a program that is, again, gives you that education to refine your performance, but also gives you the structure so that you don't have to think about it. All other links as well, conditioning sessions, everything will be in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.